Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry. Joining me today, we have Terry, who is here often, but we have a new friend. All right, he is the editor in chief. He pretty much runs Read Everton. Elliot Cuff is with us. Elliot, thanks again for being here, man.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Bournemouth. Spoiler alert: if you recorded the game and are planning on watching it today, I'm giving you fair notice. Okay, we lost. It was 3-1. All right. Despite going in on a good momentum shift at the half, felt pretty good about going into the second half. Got to be honest. Dominic Calvert-Lewin grabs a header. Despite people like Terry saying, "Oh gosh, ignore what I said about DCL." Oh, and then he's got to take it back 2 seconds later. I give him flack, dude. Everybody was saying that on social media, so Terry's he just speaks for the masses, I feel. So that happened. I was feeling great, and then, well, as they say, shit happens. So Elliot, if you want to give us some initial thoughts, I'll get into specifics in a little while, but you want to talk about go wherever you want to go, is what I'm saying. Carte blanche.
Well, I mean, as you said, it's a bit of a post-mortem, isn't it? Because I think at this point in the season, if you look at the first 4 games, 7 points from 4 games, beating teams like Watford and Wolves, who have been tipped to be top half finishers, if not challenging for the European places. You play Bournemouth, and really, there's no way you come into that game not expecting 3 points. And to come away with not 3, not even 1, but 0 after being atrocious again, it's really disappointing because obviously against Aston Villa we did the same thing. We turned up, probably expected it to be too easy, didn't sort of approach the game in the right way, and then you come away looking like idiots. And for me, the one positive is that Calvert-Lewin's opened his account for the season because he's come under a lot of flack online, and it's something that he really needs to do for his own personal game and also for Everton, of course. But I think it's good that he was able to break his duck. But other than that, I don't know what positives you can glean from that, because now you go into Sheffield United this week, and it's another team you're expecting to beat. They're a newly promoted side. They don't have an awful lot of Premier League experience. But after losing to Villa and to Bournemouth, do you really feel confident going into that game? Because at the moment, I can't see any consistency, and if pundits keep tipping Everton, will we get top 4? Will we get top 6? At this rate, there's no way, because you can't win half your games and lose to those sides. You have to be able to grind out results like that, and if we can't do that, if we can't find that extra gear to go to ensure we get the result, then I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where we go from there.
Yeah. I don't know how to find anything to disagree with that statement. Pretty much all that, I'm like, yeah, thumbs up, man. I'm good. I mean, really, I can't imagine. You told me before this. I mean, Terry and I were feeling like, despite the fact that it was away, we're going to get a win. Felt all right. Yeah, Terry, you want to talk a little bit about? I mean, I feel like there's some talking points that we should really make sure we're getting to. We'll get there. Do you have anything particular you want to start off with, or you want me to give you something very specific? Is it too scattershot to say go with your gut on this, or is it like, oh, there's too many targets?
Well, yeah, I'll just roll. I for me, looking at the game as a whole, we may as well have just kicked the 3 goals we conceded in our own net, because the first one is a horrendous, marking from a corner. Once again, second phase of a set piece. They're all up for the first phase. They lose the header, and then they all go to sleep. Second one, there's 2 things to be upset about. Richarlison's been very naive, and he's given away a free kick in a dangerous area very cheaply. Schneiderlin at the run cover. He doesn't need to, lunge. He's never getting that ball, Richarlison. And obviously the third one, Yerry Mina has gone for a bit of a walk and decided to stay where he was and just give Callum Wilson an easy, I don't want to say an easy goal, it was a good finish, but like an easy opportunity. So just a defensive disaster class, absolutely awful from the team as a whole. So it's we're our own worst enemy. We can't get out of our own way when we're playing some of these teams, especially away from home. I don't want to go too much into the away form yet because we're going to touch on that in a bit, but it just seems like we have to beat ourselves, and we start with a goal down in these away matches.
Yeah, just silly goal after silly goal after silly goal. It was really difficult to watch. Just the final one with Mina being sucked too far to the opposite side that he's playing, too far up, too far wide. And I know he's wanting to do he really wanting to do the right thing. He's really wanting to have an impact. But if you're almost too emotional in that moment, you start losing your discipline. And I feel like that's something that happened for him right there. Defensive. I don't know that it's miscommunications. It's mental lapses. And we did not look aggressive on set pieces. I felt like they got first touch on most set pieces. That's an issue. And I feel like, I know they went big. They did come out pretty tall. They went with some players that were taller, to be able to be a little bit more physical on set pieces, I believe. And they came out pressing. I don't know that I thought they were going to come out like straight up pressing. They pressed every opportunity they had first half and the beginning of the second half. And I think I felt like we reacted like we didn't think it was going to happen. We gave away the ball way too cheaply coming out of the back, like a lot. For me, it's a mentality. Now we'll get there. We're going to talk more about away form later. So I don't really want to make this strictly about mentality. But a big part of this was defensive mental lapses as a group, as a whole. It's not even one dude this time. It's a group. So anyway, we've gotten past that. All right. I think the things that made people's eyebrows raise at the very beginning, Elliot, DCL was in for Keane and Schneiderlin was in for Andre Gomez. All right. It's like, I'm just going to say it every way you can pronounce it. But I don't know if you want to talk about DCL getting the nod instead, Schneiderlin. I think those are the two things where people were like, I don't know about that. But honestly, I don't think those were the big problems for us today, Yeah,
you're right. I don't think they ended up being the main problems, but I was speaking on the radio earlier in the week about Moise Keane, and you look at him as a 19-year-old, extremely talented young player. He's going to be a big star in the future, but he needs an adjustment period in the Premier League. And at the moment, Everton don't have the patience, they don't have the affordability to let him do that. So if he doesn't perform, if he doesn't start scoring, then naturally it made sense to me that Silva would bring Calvert-Lewin back into the lineup because he can rely on him in the sense that he has prior experience of scoring, even if he isn't the most promising outlet for Everton to score with at the moment because he looks so poor. I think the problem with Calvert-Lewin is too often he wants to walk the ball into the net. He doesn't just take the first opportunity. He could take a touch inside and hit the ball. You're not going to score every one, of course you're not, from 18 yards, 20 yards. But if you keep trying, you'll eventually get on the score sheet. If you take too long, you get possession taken off you all the time, and it's a shame. But I think the main problem, when you touched on it, was Andre Gomez not playing. We know it was a rib injury that kept him out, so we had Schneiderlin and Delph in there. But that is a very, very defensive formation. And even though you are playing away, so you don't want to be too offensive, against a team like Bournemouth, who Everton have struggled against in the past, we know they like to attack forward. We know they like to move forward quickly. They've got a lot of young, talented players. We need to make sure that whenever we're moving forward, we have the most creative approach. And I think if you don't have someone like Gomez, who's a bit more silkier in midfield, who can link up play a lot better than some of the other midfielders, you're then asking too much of Gylfi Sigurdsson. And at that point, Schneiderlin and Delph, it's just far too defensive, especially against a team like Bournemouth, who you want to really be going for. You want to be attacking head on. They weren't. Specifically, Schneiderlin and Calvert-Lewin weren't the main problems. They didn't cause the issues. But I think from a tactical arrangement perspective, from the very beginning, you're on the wrong foot. And then you have to make up what you've lost with those players. And then, as soon as Bournemouth come out on the front foot and start attacking, then you're already struggling. But as you mentioned with Yerry Mina at the back, not just one player, but the entire defensive unit was poor. And that's what let us down. And I don't know how you try and make sure that is more compact and that they're more consistent at the back, because we need that. You need that consistency at the back, otherwise we're not going to get where we want to be. And that, it'd be a real shame if silly defensive errors every single week are what cost us a European place, or something even better than that. If other teams around us are not performing as well.
We did it a lot last year, didn't we?
Certainly did, yeah. Set pieces was something we conceded a lot from last year, and it's we can't have that. We can't have that happen all the time, because eventually you need to grow. If you're going to develop as a club, you need to identify what the problems are, how do we fix them, and then you make those moves. And it seems that in certain areas we're not doing that. We obviously, the amount of media furore that was around Kurt Zuma's replacement not being brought in, we didn't find that centre-back to come in and partner Michael Keane. And we've been lucky that Yeremina has been fairly decent so far, just like the season. But that's an issue we knew we had, and we didn't fix it. And if you don't fix problems, how do you expect to grow? And that's my biggest problem. I think that, yes, we signed Moise Keane. We signed a striker who is potential, but he could go on to fill that Lukaku role. But that is not enough to cover up all the other cracks in the squad. And I think with poor performances like the one against Bournemouth, it shows that there's still so much work to be done to get Everton to a point where they can actually challenge for anything.
I was thinking, when you watch Schneiderlin play, he didn't have a poor game. I guess it's just considering what he does as a player compared to what Gomez does. Gomez is sort of like a transitional player. He's really good at taking it from, we've just gained possession, starting an attack. He may not be the one creating the chances in the box, which he rarely is. He's almost never that guy, But he's really good at getting it to the people that are. And he's usually pretty good at maintaining the ball. Schneiderlin, frankly, his passing was all right yesterday. It wasn't entirely backwards. He made a decent amount of forward passes. I specifically was watching for it. And he didn't give the ball away. I thought he had some silly fouls, some really silly fouls in a few areas that just didn't need to happen. At one time, he dispossessed a player, and then afterward went back in and hacked the leg. The ball was gone, just went back in. It just gave him a stupid kick, for no reason at all. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I think DCL. Do you think, is it possible that for a lot of people that thought Keane should have started, and I may want to give this to Terry, is it possible, because it seemed like Silva brought him in because, well, he actually said because of the way of certain qualities that he has against Bournemouth, a team that has other qualities. So was he thinking aerial ability? Is that what he's thinking? Is he thinking pressing and speed? Terry, or is it the fact that he's just straight up overthinking it and should have played Moise Keane just because he appears to be more clinical, but we don't know yet?
I think the only reason is probably the aerial capability. Like Bournemouth have got smaller centre backs, and Calvert-Lewin's decent in the air, and it worked sort of. We got a headed goal from Calvert-Lewin from a cross, but we didn't cross to him enough. We spend every game whipping 50 crosses in and getting nowhere. But the one game where it might have been far more appropriate, it didn't seem to happen. I mean, you want to cause yourself grief on Twitter than defend Calvert-Lewin. I mean, he's been assigned as the boo boy at the minute, which some people are being overly negative, but a lot of people, just saying what they think. They don't think he's good enough, and there's something to be said for that as well. But I think the main problem is you can't have him and Sigurdsson together. They get in each other's way. They don't seem to understand what the other one wants the other one to do. So Calvert-Lewin doesn't know where to go for Sigurdsson, and Sigurdsson doesn't know where to put it for Calvert-Lewin. So I just think it's a bad combination, and basically you're going to have to pick one or the other for me, and it's going to be Sigurdsson, isn't it? Let's be honest, because he seems to be the main, creator in the team. People are crying out for him to, drop to the bench, put a Iwobi behind the striker. I think it's far more likely that Sigurdsson stays and they change about with the striker, depending on who that is. I mean, I want to see more of Moise Keane, but I certainly don't think, Moise Keane on the pitch from the start, we still concede those 3 goals. For me, anyway. Maybe we change the game if we score from different chances that he creates. It's a big what if, but I don't know. I think at the minute, because there's been so much player recycling in the summer that we're still, we don't want to be, we don't believe we should be, but we are still in the, and I'm pains to use the word transitional sort of phase where we're sort of figuring out the team, the chemistry, the formula, who works well with who doesn't work well, because we've so far this season, we've used Gomez in a couple of games, we've used Schneider in a couple of games. Excuse me. I started with Bernard. He played well. Come out for Iwobi. Now Iwobi's in. Keane started, looked good against Wolves. Then he came straight back out because Calvert-Lewin comes in because it's Bournemouth. I think we're still figuring things out, and hope we figure it out quickly, because we've wasted a massive opportunity with these early fixtures. I never go into away games expecting to win, but you looked at these fixtures and just thought there is a perfect opportunity to correct the away form. You've got early games against Palace, who are in disarray, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, who've just come up. It's such a waste, and you just feel like it's of our own making because of the type of goals we're conceding, that they are from individual errors or poor performances as a whole, as a team. The only, suppose, saving grace for the goals we conceded at the weekend is they're 3 very coachable goals. It's pick up your man better on the corner, be better in the second phase, Delph go with your other foot on that free kick and you just clear it first time, send it into the stand. Gerry, don't get caught ball watching. These goals we were conceding every game in the middle third of last season, and we were decrying it for a long time, and then we had that long break and they seem to disappear. We seem to have sorted the defensive lapses out, but they've crept back in. No, I hope they haven't crept back in full time. I'm not suggesting that suddenly we can't defend anymore, because we started off the season really strong defensively, but it doesn't mean you can't slip back into bad habits. And I just hope that Silva gets them on the training pitch this week and says, listen, we're going to drill set pieces because you've literally shipped 2 easy goals in one game, and then let a third in from open play.
You look at the changes that Silva made in the second half. Anything you felt like was a positive? Where you were sitting there nodding your head, thinking, "Yes, that's the one we needed," or were you thinking, honestly, this is just one of those games where I don't really think any of these changes are going to matter?
Well, I mean, Moise Keane and Bernard come on at the same time, and that, you have to see that as positive because it's 2 attacking options. I personally think it's really harsh on Bernard to have lost his place. It makes sense that Alex Iwobi comes in, replaces him, but I'm not the biggest fan of Sigurdsson, and I would have been absolutely fine to see Bernard and Iwobi occupy those roles, whichever one plays left, whichever one plays behind the striker. So I think that's positive. Walcott, on the other hand, I
had a feeling you were going to go on this.
I vocalised it a lot on Twitter. I have lost all patience for Theo Walcott. He doesn't do anything. He adds nothing to the game. So when he comes on, it was wasted for me. But yeah, when Keane and Bernard come on, you're thinking, right, well, clearly Silva isn't happy with how it's going. Clearly he wants to really get straight back into them. Come on, let's rally around, get the troops together, let's rally together, and let's really hit them where it hurts. But as soon as the third goal, I think the third goal was scored moments after Bernard and Keane come on. And at that point, you're thinking, I don't think we have what it takes to get back. And it's a shame, really, because most sides would look at that and go, 2 goals down, it's Bournemouth. We got 20 minutes here, we can do this. But Everton have beat you into submission to the point where you start to think, can we get back to this? I don't think so. Not the way we're playing at the moment, anyway. And that definitely has to change, because I wasn't at the game, but for people from Liverpool who travel all the way down to Bournemouth, the least you want is to see them actually try to really take it to the final whistle. And I think, certain players performed well in the first half and dropped off in the second. And that's not what you want. You want people to be picking up that extra wind in the second half, to really be taking it to the full-time whistle to the best of their ability throughout the full 90 minutes. And I don't think we saw that, which is, disappointing.
Yeah, there were stretches where we clearly seemed like we were going to actually start putting some in. We actually had some long stretches, and then it was just a dumb move here, and we're down. It was really frustrating. I mean, the commentators we had on our feed, one of them was awful, by the way, on the NBC Sports feed. Oh my God, it just did nothing. I mean, my wife looked over at me. My wife, who was halfway watching the game, she looked over and was like, "This guy hates Everton, doesn't he?" My wife said that, okay? And I'm like, well, honestly, it's a pretty common thing.
Yeah, I was going to say something we get a lot with commentators over here as well.
But yeah, so it was a pretty frustrating viewing. And you know what? When it was over, I was seething, and my house got spotless because I cleaned the hell out of it. I used the energy for good. Everton powered the cleaning machine. So yeah, that's one good thing a loss does for us.
The silver lining.
Yeah, that's about it.
Silver lining.
Anything else on this, guys? I'm really ready to put this in our rear view.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm done with this. With talking about Bournemouth, it was bad.
Yeah, the Bournemouth hangover.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to. Yeah, still tastes a little like vomit. Just saying. All right, so that's all for our extra time. The post-mortem on that crap from Sunday. Yeah. Can still see it when I shut my eyes. So if you want more Terry, all right, Liverpool Echo fan Gerry, they put his thoughts on paper, and and he's cool with it. So if you want, check out his Twitter. Check that out. He'll tell you when and where his brain blobs are going to be. Also, you know what? Just outside your house. Terry's waiting. Give him a hug. All right? Big old hug for Terry. All right? He hasn't given me any stories about hugs yet, and that's not cool. All right? So let's make this happen. I've only met Elliot once, so I'm not pushing hugs for him yet. All right? He may be very averse to hugs, so I'm just going to leave that at that. But you should follow him on Twitter. His Twitter. That's a thing now. Hey, yeah. Twitter.
Twitter and Twitter.
That's wow. Follow him on Twitter. His details are down there. He is and also read Everton. He's the editor-in-chief. He pretty much runs the thing. Majority of the content on there is just straight Elliot juice. So check that out. Yeah. And I think that's yeah. You're welcome. And I think and I think that's it. We're gonna roll on and move on to another subject, probably just as dire as this one. So talk to you soon. Bye.